Order the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners, September 26, 2017. If you would, please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing for a brief moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, online, we're on to the adoption of the agenda, and online, the change was made. The agenda, as you see it, I don't know if on the printed copy, did it make it?
No, you can't change the actual
Okay.
agenda until you get here.
So we are going to make, or recommend to make one change, moving item I-1, Planning Board Member Status, to the consent agenda to C6 and add to it the words, with the action being the removal of the member from the Planning Board for absences. That's the only changes. Anybody else have any other additions, changes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the revised agenda.
So moved.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Denise Truesdale, first up for public comments.
Good evening. My name's Denise Truesdale. I live at 708 Howie Mine Road here in Waxhaw. I was here a while back and the mayor had made a comment that Facebook wasn't the best way to get your information. So
I didn't.
well, when
make
somebody
That would be me.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes.
I'm here today because I want to echo that. Facebook has put out about a forum that's being taken place, but it's been some miscommunication because I guess they didn't really know my heart. But all the candidates are invited to come, but you won't be allowed to be on the panel if you're already on the commissioner's board. That being said, it's because we want the new candidates, the people to be able to put a face with their name and be able to hear their platform. We already know your faces, we already know your names, and we pretty much know your platform. So that's why we're the citizens, and it's not Faith Community Church, so we're not doing anything illegal. It's me having a forum so that I can be informed on the candidates that's running for the town of Waxhaw. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat Kiddo.
Okay, my name is Pat Kitto. I live at 7802 Waxhaw Highway, which is in the county, but my heart is in Waxhaw. And I'm holding all of the commissioners responsible for what our last manager did. We do not want, it's too late to do anything about the compost dump, but we really plead with you, please don't buy those other two pieces of property on Highway 75 to make it larger after my death probably. But there are families that live down there. None of these people, they don't live down there. It's a beautiful, Highway 75 is a beautiful road in Waxhaw. And we have a beautiful community. We have the best kept town in probably the United States. But I think that you made a big mistake when you purchased that property. We have our wonderful museum on one side. We have the elementary school in the back, and we have a housing development on the other side. And if you buy those two lots and make it bigger, it's going to, already in the winter, because we talked about that. So in the winter, you can, from the museum driveway, you can see everything that's going on there. It's very upsetting. I have a family down there. I'm pleading with you. See, we don't have a voice with the newspaper anymore. That's been cut off, and so we don't know who did that, but we have a good idea. We cannot write letters to the editor. So I'm pleading with you to please do something different in the future with that area. Okay, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Pat. Okay, next up, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda, the revised consent agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion to adopt the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Reports. We'll start with Commissioner Warner.
I had a very nice week this week. Went to the League of Governments down in Greenville, and I won the top door prize. I got a 50-inch TV. So, other than that, we learned a lot of things there. A lot of things that we think we can apply to what and future of Waxhaw and how to communicate with our neighboring communities is what one seminar that I went to. I'd like to thank you for sending us. I am talking in the, am I not? Okay, thank you.
Same here. We had a good trip, learned a lot from the breakout sessions about connectivity and combining ideas for towns in the same area. It was a good trip.
Thank you. Commissioner Fitzgerald.
I was the last commissioner to go, and the mayor also went. We also had an enjoyable interchange with each other. We had a chance to talk offline. We did learn a lot. I think we did understand the connectability with our other community neighbors across near us and how to connect. And it was, thank you for sending us, and it was well worth the trip.
I was on a different trip celebrating 50 years of marriage with my wife, so I missed that one, but thank you very much.
And I was also on a different trip. I've spent the past 2 weeks in Ohio with my father, who had total hip replacement, and have, as Commissioner Burns has said, learned the role of taking care of a parent and how that plays out. But I thank everybody for their well wishes and their notes on that. Also, I'd like to thank Ms. Truesdale for standing up this evening. We are just 6 weeks out from a very important day in our country. It happens every 4 years or every 2 years here in Waxhaw with half of this board, and being an informed citizen and a voter is probably the gift that we are all given, and it's our most important duty. So thank you, Ms. Truesdale, for, again, getting the opportunity for folks to know folks out there before they go to the polls in six weeks and make that decision. Thank you.
I, too, was at the League conference. The theme of it was connect, and in terms of connecting with other communities and other support organizations around the state, actually. I walked away from it with with a lot of learning, but one very powerful message: how much a difference we make when we're working with the legislature. We were reminded by one of the state representatives that by actively participating in alerting the legislature about this billboard ordinance or law that was coming down the pike that basically would have lined 16 and 75 with big billboards, and the fact that, and across the state, all DOT roads, and the fact that as a group the municipalities got together and really pushed back. We can't lose sight of having a legislative agenda to address those things and participate. Craig Horn actually mentioned to me that with 700 and some odd bills, the fact that took the time to make him aware of it made a big difference in terms of him getting engaged and then helping to defeat it. So, and it was defeated, which is a great thing for the town of Waxhaw. The only other thing I want to update everybody on is we get a lot of questions about the YMCA, and everybody thinks it should be built, in 6 months. It's a complex initiative. There's steps that must happen, and they take some time. To put this in perspective, in March of 2015, the town of Waxhaw and the YMCA of Greater Charlotte reached an agreement in principle on a letter of intent for the Y in Waxhaw. December 30th, 2015, the town of Waxhaw and the YMCA of Greater Charlotte reached agreement. They actually signed the contracts in June in a joint use agreement. So from March to June 2016, the discussions were held and the contract was signed. In 2016, the town and the YMCA initiated what is required, a mandatory process with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on the site. The process was just completed this past April. During 2016 and going into 2017, the town and the YMCA have collaborated with the tenants around there to determine the final site boundaries, which affected important aspects of the project, including parking and related joint access. All of these steps were necessary to get to where we are right now. The town Department of Parks and Recreation is in the initial phase of scoping the field portion of the initiative. Necessary required step to be incorporated into our capital plan, which is now a part of our financial process. The YMCA is finishing up a review of its association's entire facility footprint, which includes the development of the plan for the Waxhaw Hall YMCA. They've begun to assess, and they had meetings today to the next phase of the Hall YMCA fundraising. The YMCA would love to develop a full program plan to maximize the use of the town's parks when they're ready and when they're completed. And the YMCA is currently working on a plan to recruit community leaders to form the Hall YMCA board. Together, we're confirming timelines and projections, but that's kind of where things are right now. I know everybody would love to see the building go up. That's the progress that has been made thus far on that. We'll try to provide updates through the meeting here, and happy to entertain any questions at any point in time if somebody wants to give me a call or discuss it. Manager Ferguson, do you have any updates?
A couple new items. Just from an event standpoint, we have two events in the month of October that are coming up. October 13th and 14th is the Grilling and Chilling Barbecue Cook-Off and Setup, and then we have Arts and Craft Festival that weekend. 13th and the 14th is downtown. Actually, 13th, 14th, and 15th, so it's a 3-day event in total. So there'll be additional information online about that. And then on October 28th is the Fright Night downtown park. So I think that's the second year that we've hosted that event, so that's coming up. If you were not able to join the work session earlier tonight, there were several Parks and Recreation oriented items discussed, as well as an update from the Main Street Advisory Board. So if you wanted to get information about that, that's online tonight as well. And that's all I had.
Any questions for the manager?
One last item for the public. On Friday afternoons at noon, the project section of the planning department is updated on a weekly basis. So if you want to check that project section online, the planning department gets new updates added. So projects are added on Fridays at noon.
Thank you.
I just have one comment. Since the last meeting, I got married to a wonderful, wonderful man. Scott Burns. That's all.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one item of old business. Action on speed reduction in the Ankland Forest neighborhood. We had town staff, we had conducted a public hearing. Town staff provided a recommendation for a speed limit reduction from 35 to 25 in the Ankland Forest neighborhood. I guess, Dennis, you're the presenter if there's any new information. I do have a question for you, and there may be other questions from the board.
Sure.
In some of these neighborhoods, they have decorative signage. Do we have it clearly stated in our ordinances or wherever who pays for what? I know some neighborhoods have much higher signage standards in their neighborhood, et cetera.
I wouldn't go as far as say it's clearly stated in our ordinance. What I would say is that our standard practice is that we don't install anything decorative, any sort of decorative speed limit signs or anything of that nature. That additional cost for the decorative item would need to be borne by the HOA or the neighborhood that's interested in decorative items.
So they pay the cost, but the staff will still install the...
Yeah, we can help them with installation, yeah, and we can actually do some of that installation, and we'll help them sort out where the appropriate locations are for those signs within the neighborhood.
So we want residents installing speed limit signs and stop signs?
No, I said that.
But they're...
Yeah, I said, so we would help with the installation, and we would help with the location of where those signs would go.
You have a question?
Yeah. The maintenance of that sign would be incurred by the HOA from there on out, correct?
Yeah, I mean, the maintenance responsibility would have to be worked out, and yeah, we would look to the HOA to maintain any decorative items.
I make a suggestion that maybe we look at how we communicate that out to HOAs, because there's confusion there.
Sure.
There just is.
Yeah, we can look at that. I think that the clearest might be to go ahead and have a policy that addresses it.
Other questions? Comments? Motions?
I would like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 201-7007, amending and regulating traffic in Anklin Forest subdivision by reducing the speed limit to 25 miles per hour on the following streets: Anklin Forest, Berner, Lingen, Hoffmeister, Widgeon, Bitburg, Red Barone, and Orangeburg.
We have a motion to approve the ordinance. Do we have any follow-up comments, questions, concerns?
I have a question. Why are you going from 35 to 20? Has there been some accidents, or I'm just curious?
Okay.
Yeah, that was a neighborhood request. It was driven by our current speed calming policy. Not driven, but it was guided by the current speed calming policy that's in place. Anklin Forest as a neighborhood went through the petition process, had a valid petition. We went through the neighborhood meeting, collected some data as well to support their request. I mean, 25 miles an hour is a fairly common speed limit in neighborhoods, and so we didn't necessarily think that it needed to be a crash-driven decision or some sort of accident-driven decision, but it was really about consistency with what you would see across the region with speed limits in that type of neighborhood.
Were they one of the neighborhoods that didn't have any speed limit signs, so by default it fell under the state law at 35?
That's correct.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's been a challenge in some of the neighborhoods, I know.
That's correct.
Any further questions, comments?
Just one for Commissioner Burns. They actually did, it was a very scientific approach. I was kind of impressed with what they did. It wasn't something like, oh, we'd like to do that. It was very well thought out, and it took, what, 2, 3, 4 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, the actual data collection, it you know, soup to nuts, a little bit longer, but the data collection was fairly quick. I mean, this is, I would say, one of the rare cases where neighborhoods maybe requested a speed limit. We as staff agreed, so it was really procedural, but making sure we followed all the steps that were in the street common policy to make the recommendation.
Any other comments, questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, 5-0. We have no new business. We have no closed session, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
You got that one?
Huh?
The one that came off the consent agenda.
No, it went to the consent agenda.
I make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.